So good morning or good afternoon, or I suppose welcome to this Facebook Live watch party. It's our first ever as the Emerging Voices program. And I think I'll sum up this conversation or welcome you all based on a blog post I saw, and it was titled, Emerging Voices is Your Passport to Global Health. Now, we join in from all over the globe, different time zones, diversity, but also stellar individuals who are also alumni of this program. And I want to kick off by giving them the opportunity to introduce themselves, because I certainly would not do justice, Faraz, if I had to introduce you. So we'll start off with you.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. I'm Faraz Khalid. I'm from EV 2010 batch. I represent Eastern Mediterranean region on the governance board, and I'm currently located in Cairo, Egypt, and I'm working with World Health Organization's regional office for the Eastern Mediterranean.
Faraz, fantastic to have you in the house. Francisco or Francesca, I could never say that, but correct me and introduce yourself.
Hi, and don't worry, Shakira, it actually happened to me all my life since I started traveling abroad, that some people do not know how to pronounce my name. But don't worry, it's Francisco, it's in Spanish. My name is Francisco Oviedo. I'm from Costa Rica. I work for the Ministry of Health here. I'm a teacher at the university. Obviously, I'm from the 2012 batch of the Emerging Voices program. One of the very first, actually the second batch that ever was made of the program. I'm really happy to be here.
And Francisco, I remember you being a brilliant facilitator during our EV 2014 venture. Over to you, Kerry.
Thank you.
Thanks, Shakira. So I am also from the EV 2014 batch and had a great time being in the same batch as Shakira. I am Carrie Scott, based now in Toronto, Canada, but joined EV when I was living for the last decade in India. And I am an associate faculty at Johns Hopkins School of Public Health and also work as a consultant. Excited to be part of this.
I just want to say, Kerry, it's so awesome to see you in person, I suppose, through this virtual platform and Facebook Live, and now really a force in global health, a woman of force. And Rupa, I can't say anything more. Please give us a brief introduction.
Great. Hi, everyone. My name is Rupa Dhatt, and I am an executive director of Women in Global Health, which is a nonprofit that is registered in the U.S. but works globally and is really a global movement that is supporting gender equality and global health leadership. And we have chapters in 12 different countries, and I'll talk more about that later. And I am really excited to be here. Was in the EV class in Vancouver, and I'm calling in transit. I'm based in Washington, D.C., but these exactly now I just got into New York City and living the life of, the global health people on the move. So currently in a New York City taxi, and I'm just going to show you guys a little view because a lot of our lives does include being in taxis or in transit.
And thanks for making some of us jealous, Rupa. So we're going to get right into it. I don't want to say too much about the Emerging Voices program, but I'm going to invite Faraz, who's a governance member as well, to take us through the applications which are open at the moment. And there are two tracks, as I understand, Faraz, a researcher track, an activist track, and it's your opportunity, those who are watching, to apply to be an Emerging Voices for Global Health.
Sure. So first, let me take you through that. What is this program? And I'll be speaking a few buzzwords, but guys, I think once my other colleagues will share their experiences, you will find the meaning in these buzzwords. So Emerging Voices for Global Health, it's an innovative multi-partner blended training program for young, promising and emerging health policy and systems researchers, decision makers, and other health system actors who have a keen desire to be influential and to make a change, both aspiring, starting from their local settings, and then having big worldview about global health changes. So the program coaches emerging voices to participate actively in international conferences. And your second question could be that for an applicant, that what will you gain from this program? So I'll say that the program actually strengthens writing, presentation, moderation, social media, and other communication skills. And people get a chance that how they can test the newly acquired skills in a pre-conference. They can interact with seniors in the field. They can participate. They will certainly get a chance to participate in the 6th Global Symposium in Health Systems Global Research in Dubai. And it will be a good platform to network with younger researchers, peers, as well as policymakers and experts. And lastly, I would say that the selected EVs, they'll be part of the Emerging Voices for Global Health Network, which is itself a thriving, passionate, high energy, rather high octane network. And then, as Shakira said, that who can apply? I'll say all applicants who were born on or after, I'm precisely using this term because this actually comes up in the selection process, the age area. So all applicants who have been born on or after January 1st, 1980, they're eligible to apply. And there'll be 2 tracks for which participants can apply for the EV 2020 venture. Well, one track is reserved for the researchers involved in health systems policy research. But the other track, it seeks to attract health professionals, activists, decision or policymakers, and other health system actors. And Shakira, do you want me to quickly take the people through that? What does the EV training 2020 look like, and what are the timelines?
Absolutely, Faraz. I think that's critical and useful information.
Sure. So the 2020 venture, it will start with the e-coaching and distance learning. And usually this phase lasts for 8 weeks. So this time it is planned to start from early August and will end in September. It leads up to a face-to-face program, which is usually for 10 days. So this time it will be from tentatively 28th of September to 28th of October to 6th of November. And both of these activities, they will lead up to a pre-conference, which is scheduled on 7th November. And the participants will be young researchers and other change makers. And once the emerging voices, they are well-oriented, well-equipped, so they will get a chance to participate in the 6th Global Symposium in Health Systems Research being held in Dubai. It will be for 5 days from November 8 to 12. And lastly, there will be a wrap-up session, a dedicated 1 day, where EVs will get a chance to in-depth talk about that, how beyond Dubai, they can interact with the broader health systems community. So that's how it looks like. And I'm sure those who are interested, they may be knowing that the call for applications, it started on 26th of September 2019. It's still open. And mark your calendars that the deadline for submission is 6th February 2020. All from my side, Shakira.
I think that's a brilliant, quick, sharp overview for us. A quick one before we get into the discussion. So you're essentially telling us all that the Emerging Voices program is linked to Health Systems Global. Do you want to talk a little bit more about Health Systems Global and how the themes, for example, fit into the EV program or the application for this year?
Sure. So Emerging Voices is one of the thematic working groups of the Health Systems Global. And the way both distance learning and face-to-face they are planned, they ensure that the theme for the conference, the theme and the sub-themes of the conference, they are well discussed both in the distance learning and face-to-face training phases. And moreover, during both of these phases, we bring in other thematic working groups. And I remember in our last venture held in Liverpool, 7 other thematic working groups, they participated in both of these phases. So at one end, it's a good platform to learn research communication skills, a good networking platform. But the other end, it also opens up avenues for the people to enhance both their knowledge and skills in the emerging global health systems topics.
Thank you for that, Faraz. We're now going to go into why should anyone absolutely consider applying to be an emerging voice. And I'm going to start with you, Rupa, and then go to Francisco. Rupa, especially those in civil society, the activist track, give us a little bit of insight into that and why this is a must for everyone in global health or interested in EVs.
Great. Thanks, Shakira. Well, I'd say really one of the main reasons it's a big must is the fact that the community, and Faraz talked a lot about the fact that the emerging voices community is so active. And for someone working in global health, especially an advocate, activist, policymaker, it's really informative to have a broad community of people with diverse perspectives, really from all over the world, that you can tap into to share ideas, to connect, to collaborate. And what I've found really amazing is while Vancouver was where we had the chance to get to know each other, really throughout the last few years, we've had the chance to meet so many other emerging voices, both alumni, the current class that I was a part of, and future classes, and really just connect at other conferences and events. So there really is like a robust community. And particularly for my work, I focus on gender equity and really advancing gender equity in global health. And so meeting fellow EV people that are doing research or a policy, it's a great way to advance the overall work that I'm trying to do as well too. So I really encourage those that are really trying to use evidence to drive policy action or use evidence to drive advocacy, that the EV community is a really great community where you can bring your skill set, but also learn from researchers doing amazing things all around the world.
I love the point, Rupa, that, you know, we're really coming together to collaborate even after the EV program. I mean, one thing that stood out for me, we were on this exciting Twitter chat about the program, and they said, what was your highlight? And I said, one, for us, it was being on a debate with you. I think we kicked serious butt, if I may say so. And then Rupa, attending your Heroines in Global Health event at the World Health Assembly is such a total highlight. Congratulations on that.
Great, thank you. And you know, that community really goes a long way. I feel like we're watching and learning from everyone's journey. And you know, some of the really exciting things about the training is the activities such as the format of sessions. It's not like a classic learn how to use a PowerPoint to talk about you know, your work. I mean, that is built into the programming, but there's really innovative examples, especially the fishbowl model. The fact that we were, you know, using the fishbowl model for years, and now it's finally something that's being embraced at WHO, UN events is really exciting to see, and to see that Emerging Voices was teaching more innovative, engaging techniques to host discussions, dialogue, and debate. So I really encourage, you know, for the soft skills that people gain, that it's a fantastic program and a great environment to learn in.
So Rupa's touched on advocacy a lot, but Francisco, you're a teacher, an academic, links to research. Tell us, why should researchers in public health, global health, really apply for this program? What makes it stand apart from every other program out there?
Well, actually, very good question, because I have a very particular perspective, because I'm not neither a researcher of full time, neither an activist, but I'm a government official. And for part of the very the highlights that the program gave to me was actually how to understand researchers. In the sense, as a government official, usually there is this gap between what researchers are doing and what we need to do policy making. And the program actually helped me a lot to communicate better with researchers, to actually guide or to enable a better conversation with them. And that's a skill later on helped me a lot when I became a teacher, and especially when I was dealing with courses related with methodology research or making the dissertation with my students. I would say that part of benefits of the program is that enables you to actually make that kind of links and that kind of networking, to know people who are not part of your regular activities. So, for example, for me, even with researchers, talking with them, making networking after the program has been really, really helpful. And I think my fellow AVs would say the same with the interaction they had with me. So I would say that that's one of the key benefits that the program can give you. You're a researcher, you're an activist, you're a policymaker. It connects you with people. And it connects you with people who actually know and have points of view different to yours. And that's one of the main reasons people should be applying for participating in the program.
And I mean, I said earlier in the call that you were actually our facilitator, Carrie and I facilitated in 2014. So I think it's pretty cool that you got to come back to the program and give back. How did you feel about that? And how do you feel about this EV model that's so different, where EV alumni continue to give back to the program?
Actually, I think that has been one of the most positive things of the program, that actually has been able to make the program sustainable 10 years after it started in 2020. Because I remember that one very good experience I have in 2014 when I was a facilitator is that we have the space to comment, to give our inputs on how we really like our batch in 2012 and what we did not like. And actually the program improved and had been moving on and on, because every batch, every time we have this venture every 2 years, the alumni have actually been able to contribute to say that, okay, that was really, really good. We should actually, Rupa was saying something about a fishbowl dynamic that actually had become a thing, a lot of voices, but in general, many other scenarios. And other thing that we actually believe that we're being okay, but afterward proved not to be not that okay. But that's one of the strengths of the program, that actually feeding with experience from its alumni, and everybody actually have not only an emerging voice, but also an immersed voice after you finish the program. So that's why, for me, it's quite the most wonderful thing about the program.
That joke that comes out every year, right? Are you emerging or emerged? Faraz, before we quickly go to Carrie, I mean, you've also had the opportunity to give back as a governance member. Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. I think there are two sides to it. That once I attended in 2016, I was a recipient, and the way we looked at the program, we are the receiver end, and we thoroughly enjoyed the program, but we were sometimes also critical about it, that ideally this could have been done like this, and then this, and then this. But once I got onto the other side of the table, I realized that how this all voluntary work being started from the ITM, and then as the venture is growing, and then we have this global footprint where we have more than 260 alumni with 6 editions completed, located in 60 countries in the world, and then they come together for every next coming venture. So I could really see that this all voluntary work being done at one end, trying to be as professional as possible, but keeping it still fluid, and encouraging as more as innovation, as more as flexibility required. So I think for me, it has been a very positive experience seeing that how such a voluntary network evolves, and then the chain is growing.
Mm-hmm. So 260 alumni, 60 countries. Wow, that is just a big wow. So Carrie, sorry to keep you waiting, but I know that you have so much to share. You know, free to share about the fishbowl session we had. That was such fun, right? But besides that, I think my question to you and for those listening is, what stands out for you from the program? As Faraz said, we have a distance learning and we have face-to-face learning. So what really, really stands out for you? But feel free to elaborate in any other way as well.
Thanks, Shakira. No, it's been great to hear my friends reflect. So I think a couple points, some things that really stand out. Okay, so the first that really Rupa mentioned, everybody has mentioned, is the friendships. Our work is not always positive. Health systems work engages with real issues of inequity and oppression and violence, and it can be very hard to keep your spirit going and to feel that you're making the right difference. And we are, I think, by nature, self-critical. We take a critical lens to everything we do, and having this kind of network of people who ask the same questions, who challenge each other, who think through problems deeply, it has been really both career and life-changing to get to know the people that I have been privileged to befriend and work with through Emerging Voices. So I think that network is one of the deepest and most meaningful parts of Emerging Voices. I think the other thing that has stood out is the commitment to research communication. So it sounds a bit dry. And, how do you give a presentation? What is a good poster? But this is the fundamental of our field. If you can't communicate effectively, if you're not speaking in a way that other people can understand and that is inclusive, if you're filling your work with jargon and you're turning off all of the health policymakers that might listen to you, or you're unable to work with media and journalists to get your message out there, what is the point of what you're doing? So Emerging Voices really engages with the question of how do we have impact as researchers? How do we actually bring our passion for social justice and our passion for research to actually change things and get our message out? The final one is slightly smaller, but I think really important, and it's the feeling of being orientated at the actual health systems research symposium. So I'm sure many people watching have been to tons of symposiums, but there's also people who have not. And I was fresh when I went. I had never been to a big symposium. I had no idea what it was like. And you enter this conference space full of people who are all old friends, people who seem like they've been doing it for millions of years. Not all of them are dinosaurs, but there are some. And you can feel a little overwhelmed and a little bit afraid. So you don't know what sessions to go to. You don't know how it all works. You don't know whether you can ask a question. And of course, you're really nervous about your own session. So Emerging Voices kind of builds you up and helps you make the most of that conference, both as an individual researcher and as part of a set of voices that are going to bring energy and freshness to the conference and try to challenge the status quo and be brave to ask those questions and to actually stand out as really, truly effective research communicators.
Mm-hmm. And an interesting fact you all may not know, I joined Twitter because of the Emerging Voices program. Wow. And I live on Twitter now. You all know that. I love Twitter. Oh my God, I'd die if anything happened to Twitter. But Francisco, I saw you laughing when Kerry said dinosaurs. Do you want to say something about that?
Well, I could say that I'm the dinosaur here because I'm from the first, the second EV batch, but that's part of, I think, the evolution that you see. For example, when I was in the last symposium in Liverpool in 2018, I actually got the feeling that Kerry was talking about, that friendship, that, hey, there you are, so nice to see you again. Staying to people and start talking, and it has to reconnect. And actually, that feel that yes, I have been here for a while, but that's good. Actually, that's good. And you don't have that feeling that Kerry was saying, that so overwhelming at this symposium, because you find friends there, you find people you actually can engage in interesting conversation, not only related to your work, but also personal level. But it's quite good that actually when you reach that level of feeling a dinosaur, maybe, but a good way, in a very good way.
But Kerry raised also a very interesting point, saying that if you're an emerging voice, it makes your experience at Health Systems Global so much more different. And I think all of us can really speak to that. But besides the conference, it's also what impact does it have on your career? So we've talked a lot about the networks, the friendships. Kerry's alluded a little bit to research communications. And I'm going to hand over to you again, Francisco and Rupa, to tell us what has been, and not to put you on the spot, I see you smiling again, but what has the impact been on your career, Francisco? And then we'll go over to Rupa.
I was smiling because from what was Kerry telling before, I remember an end that happened to me just after I came from my EB experience in 2012. Kerry was saying something very important that for me it was like the highlight that I got in my professional life from the Emerging Voices program. It was about communication, and how do you actually relate with people that maybe are not part of your field, are not as knowledgeable as you are, people who are actually even outside completely from the global health or the at all. So the story happened to me that at that moment I actually was working directly with the Minister of Health in the country. I was one of the senior advisor. And the thing is that like 1 month after I came back from the Emerging Voices, she was invited to do a presentation with the Chamber of Commerce about all the programs, especially related with universal health coverage and social security in our country. And she asked me to prepare the presentation she was going to deliver. And I'm pretty sure that had happened before the program of EB. I have gone completely different on the presentation because I would have been very, academic, very technical, using jargons like that. But because of the experience I have, that I knew, okay, these are people from the Chamber of Commerce. They know nothing about that. They know nothing about nationalities. They are not familiar with our language. So it was a complete different way to communicate. It was a complete different way to actually present the ideas. It was not even a regular PowerPoint presentation. I used some of the techniques I learned, some pechacucha, some things like that. And it was quite interesting because the presentation went really, really well because I felt actually, my boss, the minister, could communicate in a different way, actually a more effective way that we have done in our setting.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Before you go, Francisco, we notice you have a bunch of really cool hats behind you. Tell us about that. We're interested. Does it have any link to global health?
Oh, well, it's linked to they really like to travel. And the funny thing is that I don't wear any of those hats. I just go, I don't know, to travel to anywhere, and I just find something I like. And I actually just, wait 1 second.
Now this is interesting, right?
This actually, I got it from South Africa in 2014. You can see it there on the camera.
Wow.
It was very nice because the very last day of the program there, I was wearing this hat and I was pretending to be the guy for the Emerging Voices.
Well, let me not go into the politics of where that hat came from, but I love that it's from South Africa. Rupa, tell us about Emerging Voices and the impact on your career.
Particularly, EV really gives a community not only of fellow alumni, but as well as current EV, but also the mentors. And the mentors themselves are really well connected and invested in the EVs themselves. So I want to say that particularly for an organization like Women in Global Health and myself being a co-founder of an organization, I really was able to, find mentors to advance and collaborators to advance our work through submitting subsequent abstracts. So the next Health Systems Global Conference that happened in Liverpool Women in Global Health had the chance to link up with other abstract related to the topic of power and privilege, that work on opportunities through that network that really translated into not only to have subsequent people join the emerging created a bridge of continuity. So I'd say in a nutshell, it's the opportunity for more research collaboration, more opportunities to share your work through submitting panels, abstracts, for sharing your work, and then also connecting with other more powerful institutions around the world. All right, I hope this went through.
That's perfect, Rupa. We had a little bit of cuts, but I'll just summarize for everyone. Rupa really pointed out to the power of the mentorship of the EV program. She also talked about the collaboration that happened and her ability to really collaborate with people ahead of the upcoming Health Systems Global. So we spoke, Kerry, Faraz, Francisco, Rupa, about, a little bit about what happens after the EV program. But I wanted to push this a bit further, and I'm going to start with you, Kerry. You specifically spoke about, it's the work that we're doing that's important. And how is this not just a one-off program where you go for the training, move on and forget about life, but how does this actually help us to really address these issues in global health?
Thanks, Shakira. Yeah, so I think others have mentioned that the post face-to-face program, Emerging Voices, continues for years. So you are part of a very vibrant online group that has daily emails. Big thank you to Christoph, our fearless email coordinator and leader. And I think we share our work with each other. We reach out to one another for ideas, discussions, and we also meet up with each other. So a lot of people do travel for their work, and you'll always have somebody to grab dinner with or catch up with at various visits to different countries. And of course, at subsequent symposia, you'll keep meeting and connecting, and not just the health systems research ones, but other ones around the world. So there is a continuity. It's an informal ongoing network. The formal opportunities are to become a mentor and facilitator for future programs. Mm-hmm. And there's enormous amounts of interest and willingness to continue giving back to the program, which I think is a sign of how strong the program is and how much we all just love it. And we want to see it grow, and we want to meet the next batch because it's just another great group of people.
Mm-hmm. You're spot on, Kerry. And for us, so you were on our Twitter chat, and we're going back to Kerry's point of how Emerging Voices just teaches us and pushes us to communicate, right? And Janine Bezuidenhout asked this question, and she said, so what happens after the program? How are Emerging Voices fighting global health inequities? What do you have to say about that?
Well, I'll first carry forward what Kerry was saying, and then I'll respond specifically to what your questions. So, at one end, it's a network which interacts, the members, they interact themselves, right? So, and then I think Kerry shared a bunch of examples around it. The other thing I will give from my example, the perspective which I got from this training, that, and again, these words are not just the buzzwords when we say that being bold, being provocative. And to be honest, it was the first time when I really understood the meaning of being bold and provocative. And I tweeted that as well, that through the CV training, I learned that yes, you could be bold and provocative, but on the same note, how you can be constructive and creative. So being bold not always means that you will be destructive. So that was one of the things which I got. And this literally changed my perspective. And at one end, yes, I've been interacting for the last 3 years amongst the ED community. But this perspective, while being at the regional office in Cairo, where I frequently interact with people from at least 25 countries in the region. And very frequently, I come across young researchers, not only researchers, practitioners, policymakers. And I find it that this change in my perspective is really helping me. And helping me sowing those little seeds where typically when I interact with people, I see that when people are in that passive mode, in following the agenda, which is just, it's following the flow. And that changed my perspective. Being constructive, I sometimes help them that let's be bold about it. Let's raise the difficult questions. Let's talk about them constructively. And this actually is helping me also generate some ripples. And many people come to me that let's do something together about this issue A and B, C within organization, within country offices, or the community around. So that's how I'd say that this change in perspective is at least helping me a lot and do create that ripple effect through the people I interact with. So that's one response. Briefly coming to the second response, I think I was able to write some pieces which got published not only as blogs, but they were cross-posted in local newspapers in Pakistan. And leading up to those articles, I was literally able to influence in a few times two policies I know. And in one case, there was a national health conference coming up, and I could literally influence the agenda of that conference, that what needs to be discussed openly and critically about that issue. So these are a few examples, I would say, that how through this training, a change in perspective and a change in practice I have observed in the last few years.
So Kerry mentioned Christoph, right? If I say anything that's not politically correct, it's Christoph's fault. For us, what I think about Egypt besides the pyramids, or we have to pick up after this. So it's very interesting in the African Union and working with a lot of young people who travel to Africa. They talk a lot about the racism they experience in Egypt and even in global health in Egypt. But let's pick this up afterwards. And we blame Christoph for all our political incorrectness. We're now going to go on because I think over the years, like you mentioned, we have 260 alumni, right? But the applications are just growing and growing. It's becoming more competitive. Those of you watching, you can go online, see all the detailed information for the application. But I wanted to ask each of the alumni here to tell us or give us any tips for your application before you submit. So Kerry, we'll start off for you. What are you looking for in an ideal EV, one who's emerging and soon to be emerged?
Thanks, Shakira. So I'll just, before I mention specific things, I would just emphasize that the level of competition has really grown. So if you do not get in, please do not take it as anything indicative of your future in global health. You are still one of us and you are still part of a larger network. So I really hope that people recognize that, because it is ridiculously competitive now and it really doesn't always mean that much. There's so many people who would be wonderful in the program. So just please do take that to heart. Now, if you are thinking, how can I really stand out? I've got to tell you, be bold and be provocative and be constructive and creative, just as Faraz said. So we don't want to see a very dry sounding application. Your letter of intent has to be, it has to have a human spark. Tell us what inspires you. Let your energy come through. Try to break the mold a little bit, because you do have to stand out and you do have to sound like somebody who is going to be a change maker or is already a change maker. Thanks.
Francisco, you don't have to say this in English, by the way. I'm sorry for forcing you to speak English in this session, but it's totally up to you. What are you looking for in an EV application that comes through before the 6th of Feb?
By the way, it's okay to speak English. I had to practice more and more. And actually, that takes me to one of the points I want to say to answer your question about the tips. And I would say that the most important tip I could say is be bold, in the sense that maybe so you would say that, yeah, this sounds really good, but maybe, I don't know, I'm not going to apply because I'm too young, I'm not too experienced, I don't have experience at all in conference or where like that. And I would say, forget about that. Just go for it. You believe and you think that this program could be good for you and you actually could give something for the program, go ahead. Make an application. As Kerry said, if you are rejected, that's not going to happen anything negative to you. But if you get in and you could be pleasantly surprised, you actually can have a life-changing experience. So don't let anything refrain you to apply. And I'm just going to comment on my batch, I remember there was this girl. He was led to the program. He was from Burkina Faso, I think so. When she participated on our program in 2012, it was the first time that actually she was attending a conference where she had to speak in English. Her level was not proficient, but she really put herself to the challenge. And actually, we also worked hand. We were constructive. We gave them positive criticism. Sorry. And she actually said that she was really comfortable. Of course, she struggles from time to time with her life skills, but that actually was not something that stopped her to participate and to actually get the most. And I remember that I met her 2 years after in Cape Town in 2014. She told me that she was already making her way to start her PhD outside her country in Canada. And basically because she got networks, she did some network on our bench in China, and she knew people from Canada, and doors opened to her after that. So once again, be bold. Don't let anything to refrain you to make the application if you actually want to participate from the program.
Mm-hmm. Tell it like it is, basically, right? But with a spin of how you're going to solve it. Faraz?
Well, on top of what my friend said, I'll say, please do bring coherence in your application, especially in your motivation letter. As there is fierce competition, yes, feel free to be bold and provocative, but try to bring some logical sequencing that how this program will benefit you, what is your next professional goal, and how this training will likely help you. So one short to medium term thing which you are aspiring for, and then what is the big term plan, or what is the broader global health change you are aspiring for. So I think coherence is the key.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I think we're going to, unfortunately, end it off there. We're going to thank Faraz, Francisco, Kerry, Rupa. I am Shakira Choonara, an alumni from the EV 2014 program, coming in live today from South Africa. I think we've heard it all, but it's been absolutely amazing. I'm sure all the panelists would agree, not agree. Well, it's good to just hang out as well. Oh, I see all your smiles. Okay, that's affirmation.
Actually, I'm very happy that it was my first watch party. I didn't know even about the concept, but it turns out to be like a party, just friends hanging out, talking about cool things.
Kerry, any lasting words before we log off?
I look forward to seeing you in Dubai. And if you are an EV, you'll be welcomed as an EV family member. If you do not get into EV, still come say hi. You are wonderful and you're welcome.
So on that note, we hope that Iran doesn't go forward on the threat to bomb Dubai. Everything will go ahead in Dubai for the EV program. Besides that, I think, like I said, we've heard it all. We've heard how we have 260 alumni from 60 countries. We heard that you should be bold, provocative, but you should tell us how you want to address global health inequities. Faraz called for coherence. And Kerry points to the fact that you will learn the skills to communicate. And also, Francisco says it was his first Facebook Live party, and that's the point of the EV program. We do things differently. For more information, you can go to www.ev4gh.net. We'll show this as soon as the watch party is over. And all applications are due before the 6th of February, whether you're a researcher or activist. We certainly look forward to welcome you to this family. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you all.
Thank you.
That went really well. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Oh, I see you're still recording, Nitya, but I just want to say thanks to everyone. I hope you enjoyed that.